Now, I want to switch over to the naming question. I had on Senator Blackburn this week. The only major military base in Tennessee is called Base Arnold, which is named for the founder of the United States Air Force. There is no controversy there. The Air Force is blessed with never having existed with Confederate officers who defected from it. It's a late arriving deal, so it doesn't have to deal with Air Force bases named for Confederate generals. But it seems to me, I'm surprised that we have them. As a Republican, I want them all renamed tomorrow. As a military man who stays out of politics generally, what do you think about bases named for Confederate generals?
It's an interesting question, and let me answer that answer your question as short a fashion as I can. The United States military has a rich history of patriots who have sacrificed, given up their lives, devoted their entire lives to the cause and the principles of the United States of America. So we have plenty of selection of people like Patton, like MacArthur. You mentioned Arnold, who already has a base named after him. Many Medal of Honor recipients who rightfully, I think, should replace some of the Confederate generals who, for whatever reason, had their names put in front of these bases. So I think it's something that ought to be done and ought to be done quick. And quite frankly, there's not that much controversy.
There
I
isn't.
mean,
They're having
many of
an
these Confederate generals who are these bases were named after had horrible records in the context of what they actually did and the reputation they had amongst their soldiers.
Yeah, they not only defended slavery, they broke their oath to the United States. I don't know if you're an Air Force graduate, Academy graduate general, or
Yeah,
if
I
you're.
mentioned you. I went to Mr. Jefferson's
That's
University,
it.
the University of Virginia.
So I draw a line. Mr. Jefferson's University. Mr. Jefferson put the country on the right path, though he was himself a slave owner. I would leave the Jefferson Memorial alone. I would leave his rotunda alone. I would leave Monticello alone. But I sure would dump Fort Hood and Fort A.P. Hill. That brings us to the modern issue. This is a Navy issue, not an Air Force issue. The Stennis is one of our big guns. It's one of our carriers. It's out there. John Stennis was very good to the military. He made sure that it got a lot of appropriation. He was an out and out stone cold racist segregationist. Should an American aircraft carrier carry his name, General Deptula?
Um, I'm going. That's one that we need to think about a bit. And obviously, that's a decision for the Secretary of the Navy, the Chief of Naval Operations, and their duly elected bosses. I think that we've got to be careful in terms of how far we go in trying to change history. The bases that were named after Confederate generals, that's pretty cut and dry. But then there is the context of other people who have contributed much and done much for the United States in a period of time where their other actions would not be judged so appropriate today. So it's worth a discussion. I'd have to think about that one a little bit longer before I gave you a definitive answer.
Now, the TR is another carrier, and they're taking down a statue of TR, which I think is absurd. Teddy Roosevelt,
Reprehensible.
yeah.
Absolutely reprehensible.
So it just seemed to me we need a rule of reason. We know that the Confederate generals they broke the oath to the United States as well as being people who enslaved people. Then you got Stennis who supports Jim Crow, and it's good for the American military during the Cold War. I don't know how you're going to keep him on the carrier, but Teddy Roosevelt, he's an American icon. I mean, I don't think there's a debate there.
Right.
General, always good to talk to you. Thank you for being up. You've also got a knife study. You, Bob Gates, and Michael Oren all have better studies than I do. I'm very jealous of it, but thank you for joining us on Skype this morning, General. Talk to you in a couple of weeks.